What is up? Welcome to another edition of the NFL Fantasy Football Podcast. It's me, your man, MG Marcas, alongside the Fantasy Hall of Famer, Michael Fabiano, the Fantasy Viper, Graham Barfield. He and his sinus infection are on a plane, I think, back to Atlanta to enjoy the holiday. I'm sure he's not enjoying that sinus infection on a plane.
Poor kid. Yeah, that doesn't sound like fun.
So it is, for a lot of people, it's Championship Monday, right? It's Victory Lap Monday. For a lot of people, there's a lot of heartache going on, though, today. I mean, how you feeling after this one?
I got to be honest with you, man. I mean, bah humbug. Seriously, I feel like Clark Griswold when he couldn't get all the lights to light up on his house and he started punching Santa and kicking the reindeer. Like, this has been the most frustrating fantasy season that I've had. Now, overall, I mean, I was in 12 leagues. I made the playoffs in 11. I made 9 semis. I made 5 championships. I'm probably going to lose in 3 unless I can get 72 points from Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, Mike Boone. Not happening, right?
Yeah, that might be kind of tough.
Yeah, not going to happen. But
not impossible, but tough.
But I feel like a lot of people, especially from what I saw on Twitter, were feeling it too because, like, this year was, and not that predicting the future is ever easy, but it got harder this year. I mean, it really did. Like, and Saturday was a perfect example, right? So who do we have ranked highly at the quarterback position in those 3 matchups? So we had, Watson and Winston.
Right. Nobody
liked Goff. Nobody liked Brady. Nobody liked Josh Allen. And those are the 3 guys that had the best games. Goff had 20. I mean, the week before he played the Cowboys. I think that was the Cowboys. They were wearing Cowboys uniforms. I don't know if they were actually the Cowboys. And then you go into the week confident in having a Watson. Having Winston threw 400 picks. I'm never starting Jameis Winston in a game Rich Eisen calls ever again in my life, okay? And Watson was worse. Russell Wilson, I get it. The Seahawks had about 100 injuries, but it's the Cardinals. Russell Wilson was terrible in that. Matt Ryan, we all like Matt Ryan. He wasn't any good. Phillip Rivers was playing the Raiders. He wasn't any good. Dak Prescott, don't get me started on the Cow. This is what I wanted. I got excited for a second, but I know what the Cowboys are. I know what happens with the Cowboys. You get excited because they win a game. Maybe they shouldn't have won. And then suddenly it all goes to crap, which is exact. But at least Urban Meyer's going to be the coach next year. At least, but I talked to Bucky Brooks. He was like, I think just Jason Garrett, get the hell out of Dallas, please. All right, it's been fun for 10 years, except for it hasn't been. And there were times this week where I freaking felt like Jim Mora.
Well, what happened was that second game, we got our ass kicked, or the second half. We just got our ass totally kicked. We couldn't do diddly poo offensively. We couldn't make a first down. We couldn't run the ball. We didn't try to run the ball. We couldn't complete a pass. We sucked. The second half, we sucked. We couldn't stop the run. Every time they got the ball, they went down and got points. We got our ass totally kicked in the second half. That's what it boiled down to. It was a horse performance in the second half. Horse. I'm totally embarrassed and totally ashamed. Coaching did a horrible job. The players did a horrible job. We got our ass kicked in that second half. It sucked. It stunk.
And his frustration, my fantasy teams did diddly poo nothing this week. DJ Moore got hurt. I had Zeke. I had Dak. I had Jameis. Okay? I had the Patriots defense this week. Terrible. And you know what, too, Marcus? I made almost every right move. The one move that cost me a championship was I started Anthony Miller over Kenny Galladay. If I played but Anthony Miller had been hot 4 weeks in a row, and the Chiefs had struggled against the slot. And Galladay's playing in Denver with David Blah, quarterback, against the Broncos. So listen, it's the holidays. A lot of us are feeling, the holiday spirit. I'm Ebenezer Scrooge right now. I'll get over it. But I promise you, this has been hell, it's baseball season for me. See, I got the Yankee shirt on. It's freaking baseball season right now. The Cowboys are out. Fantasy's over. I took home 2 championships.
Cowboys aren't officially out, though.
We're done.
They're not done.
It's done.
They're going to sneak into the playoffs. They're going to win a couple of playoff games. Jason Garrett's going to be back for another year. You get more clapping on the sideline. It's going to be fantastic.
I thought we were friends. Why you got to hate on me like that?
Because I just think it's funny, and I just want humor for my own
So anyways, congratulations to everybody who's winning and is projected to win. I hear Candace Patton's going to win.
Candace Patton is going to win League One.
I drafted that team for her.
You did, and she got Saquon Barkley to show up at the right time. We'll talk about Saquon, too, a little bit.
So, yeah, that's it for me. I'm frustrated.
Well, we got plenty to talk about. We'll look at some of the biggest disappointments of Week 16. Some of them were on Fab's team. Some of them probably weren't. We'll talk about some of the biggest league-winning surprises. And there's a handful of guys that either finished strong or finished poorly, and now let's sort of try to project next year, like what we think about them, where we might be drafting them. I mean, this will be the first of many times we do this because it's a long way until August. And then for those of you who are psychopaths and are playing Week 17, we'll do some waiver wire stuff. Maybe it'll be sort of daily fantasy related, if you will. But I know there's some of you sociopaths out there who feel like it's fun to play.
Imagine
Week 17.
if the number one ad in fantasy football this week is Marshawn Lynch.
I mean, we're going to get to that.
Imagine that.
That potentially is going to be wild. But before we do all that, I'd say we go behind the glass to talk to our faithful producer.
No
but
glass.
one, Senior Edward L. Murphy, Esquire, is back in New York, but also we're in Stage 5 today. Not a normal podcast studio, so there is no glass, so I'll just look over to my right. And we'll talk to our pal Ricky Hollywood of Fantasy League One fame. What's going on, Rick?
Hey, how are you guys?
I'm good. How did your fantasy season turn out? I know how your League One team turned out.
Yeah, I
Although
won.
You beat me in the consolation bracket.
I did beat you, Marcus.
So I had to eat a super spicy hot chip because of that.
Oh, shoot.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait, did you do it already?
Yeah, I ate it last Thursday.
Wait, was it the Akbar one?
It was not as bad. My reaction was not as bad as Akbar's. I ate it, and it was not nearly as bad as I thought it would be.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I lost. I did the Galladay over Miller thing switch.
Miller over Galladay?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
there
no, I
was
know.
just I had Russell Wilson in my championship. I was going up
And the
against
matchup
Lamar.
was so good against Arizona. You're thinking, dude, he's going to have 20 easy.
That was insane. Yesterday was so frustrating. I had Zach Ertz. Like everything that I played Will Fuller in a league. It was.
Yeah, no, I had Fuller too. I ended up winning that one, but Fuller, forget it. There's two players that are on my poop list. I'll put it that way. I'm not going to swear. Unless Shaun Watson drops to me in like the 10th round, I'm never drafting him again. I know how good he can be when he's good. When he's bad, he kills you. He freaking kills you.
I do think a fun thing to talk about the offseason will be sort of, variance in guys who are sort of fantasy roller coasters who are like really big one week and then really down the next week. He might be on that
Jameis
list.
too. My God.
He might be on that list.
I mean, you got to be kidding me.
Oh, man. This is going to be a fun show today. Everybody's like equally salty.
And
'cause,
the Cowboys
they got
lost,
burned.
which actually is good. Which actually is good for me because Garrett will be gone.
That's funny.
Garrett will be gone. Yeah.
All right, in the meantime, let's do some news.
Let's do the news.
All right. For those of you who are still playing fantasy,
Why?
why? But let's start with some major injuries that happened on Sunday across the NFL. First off, the Seahawks just decimated with injuries in their loss to the Arizona Cardinals. Chris Carson, who looks like he is done for the season.
Yep.
CJ Prosise, I believe, suffered a broken arm. They lose one of their offensive linemen, Dwayne Brown, as well. So now the rumor floating around, because the Seahawks are going to need bodies at running back.
Right.
I've seen C.J. Anderson's name pop up.
Robert Turbin.
I've seen Robert Turbin's name pop up. But the most interesting name that has popped up, could Beast Mode be back in Seattle?
I mean, apparently, Rappaport had tweeted that out that he's going to Seattle to meet with the Seahawks, and they need it, man. Like, they've lost their top 3 running backs in the last 3 weeks, you know?
Yeah. Losing Rashad Penny a couple weeks ago,
right,
now Chris
which,
Carson.
by the way, doesn't excuse Tyler Lockett giving you nothing.
Yeah, I don't know what happened
yesterday,
there.
whatever. But yeah, man, like injuries the last couple of weeks have been brutal, and we hate to see it. But I mean, the Seahawks are. I mean, this is a potential number 1 seed in the NFC. Am I right?
Yeah. I mean, look, if the Seahawks win, if they beat the 49ers next week,
Yeah,
they're the 1 seed.
right.
You know, like that's it.
But like, boy, I tell you, they're going to come and beat the hell.
Yeah.
So-
I mean, I guess from a football perspective, they get that game at home, which is sort of an advantage because it's just so hard to play up there.
You got to be feeling good as a Niners fan, though.
I mean, look,
yeah,
I
you gotta be
am
feeling good.
cautiously optimistic, man. Look,
Yeah.
as long as Russell Wilson is still breathing, like you can't really count that team out. So, but okay, so the question is, if you are playing, let's say you're playing a daily slate, right? Or
Yeah.
you are one of those sociopaths playing Week 17, and Marshawn Lynch is out there. If he comes back, if he signs, let's say, it's Monday morning right now, right? If he signs in the next 12 to 36 hours, do you put in a claim?
Hell
for
yeah,
Marshawn
why not?
Lynch?
Why not? I mean, I don't know if he's going to. I don't know if he's going to do the top claim, but he'll be up there.
And he's going against a 49er defense. I mean, I know the Niner defense has kind of gotten shredded the last few weeks.
Marshawn Lynch.
He knows the system.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna feel like he's been gone. 2 years.
I mean, who knows? Like, I mean, that's going to be tough. I'm guessing they wouldn't give him 25 carries. So, but it would be pretty funny that like in week 17, 2019, you're flexing Marshawn Lynch in your fantasy championship.
I'm totally going to make this a Twitter poll too, because I'm curious to see like how this. I mean,
you want to go with Travis Homer?
I mean, not really.
I know.
But, I mean, he's at least played football more recently than Marshawn Lynch.
Yep.
On the other side of that game, Kyler Murray had a hamstring injury. He ended up leaving the game. We saw Hundley, Brett Hundley come in and play the second half of that game. What does this mean? I mean, look, I don't know if this means anything big because what?
Who you start? I mean, hell,
you're not starting Brett Hundley, right?
No, I mean, and I mean, Christian Kirk was
just
non-existent. I mean, Fitzgerald almost had 2 touchdowns in that game.
Yeah.
But the Cardinals' pass attack, I mean, was not effective from a fantasy perspective at all. Kenyon Drake, geez, I mean, you want to talk about a league winner? That guy, 2 weeks in a row, has carried you. I mean, he's been tremendous. Got banged up a little bit in the game, came back in, and it's funny because like. That was the guy that everyone in the industry was like, he's not a featured back. And in Miami, he couldn't be a featured back. He was losing carries to Frank Gore last year. And then coming in this year, I mean, he was losing Caleb Balaj. I mean, that guy looked horrible.
Right.
He goes to Arizona, suddenly this guy, he did have like a 3 or 4 week stretch where he wasn't very good. That he was kind of mediocre. But he finished off on fire, which basically stamps David Johnson's ticket out of Arizona for next year. And oh, by the way, Buccaneers, you better be looking at David Johnson. But next, if you're playing in Week 17, like what Cardinals can you trust not named Kenyon Drake?
None.
Especially if there's no Kyler.
None. It's funny, you talk about the guys who maybe had big weeks in Week 16, some of the guys who flopped in Week 16. You could have put together a really solid lineup with just guys who have declared their freedom from Adam Gase, right? Ryan Tannehill had a really nice day. Devontae Parker had like 20, 22 points. Kenyon Drake obviously had a huge day. Mike Gesicki had a huge day. Just those 4 guys there probably would have taken you a long way toward winning a championship in Week 16.
I tweeted this out yesterday during the middle of my frustration. Say that Marcus and I were playing in a final, okay? Marcus had, going into the weekend, he had Shaun Watson, Nick Chubb, Joe Mixon, Nuke Hopkins, Tyler Lockett, DJ Moore, and Darren Waller. Okay? Mm-hmm. That's solid. That's a good team going into the week. I started Daniel Jones, DeAndre Washington, Myles Gaskins, Tajay Sharp, Hunter Renfrow, Deshaun Hamilton, and Caden Smith. Who's going to win? Marcus would have been favored by 700.
Do I know what I know now?
In reality, in reality, that crap team that I just rolled off would have crushed all those studs. And we are supposed to predict this stuff accurately on a regular basis.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I always tell people.
It was bananas.
Predicting the future is hard.
Yeah, it is.
And this job has given me a newfound respect for weathermen, for meteorologists.
Let's see. In Southern California, it's pretty easy.
California
generally, weather, I mean, come on. It's sunny at 70.
It's gonna be warm and sunny.
Although, by the way,
it's raining today.
Man. The power was out like almost my entire drive into work today too. It's kind of like the Cowboys' offense last night. Stupid team. Sorry. When do pitchers and catchers report?
What are you going to do? I mean, why wouldn't you take Amari Cooper off the field and maybe the biggest play of the season for you?
Just awful. Anyways, okay.
Last bit of news. Dwayne Haskins injured his ankle in Washington's game against the New York Football Giants on Sunday.
He was balling too, man.
He was playing really well. Like this is, and I had written in my Tired Wired column, right, that okay, look, I wasn't going to try and push a narrative that you could start Dwayne Haskins, but I said it was going to be interesting to watch him because this was going to be maybe as favorable a matchup he was going to have all season long, right? And if we're talking about him next year as maybe a 2-quarterback league guy or a potential weekly streamer when the matchup is right, you want to know that he can take advantage of good matchups. And until he got hurt, he was taking advantage of a good matchup.
By the way, you want to hear another crazy stat? If you combined Dwayne Haskins' fantasy points with Case Keenum's fantasy points just about the same as Lamar Jackson.
So
the Redskins quarterbacks
you have to take 2 people to
but think, I mean, Haskins was well on his way to having 25.
Right.
And Daniel Jones has 5 touchdowns.
I was going against Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews in the league, and when I first looked, it was like 1 point, and I was like, "Wow, the Browns actually look like they're gonna." I was so excited.
It's the Browns.
I know. I just thought I had Chubb, I had Ertz, I had Russell Wilson. I was like, "Oh, I had Michael Thomas who got me 30, and I still got crushed."
If there's a more disappointing franchise this season than the Cowboys, it's the Browns. It's the Browns.
Man, yeah.
You know, I remember talking to people about that, you know, and how you have to sort of eliminate that sort of whole culture of losing. Mm-hmm. Cleveland couldn't do it even with all the players that they brought in.
Well, look, I said before the season that the one reason I was hesitant about the Browns is because
Freddie Kitchens.
I just wasn't sure Freddie Kitchens was ready for it yet. Like, I mean, this is a guy who went from being the running backs coach last year to offensive coordinator to head coach. And it's like, that just seems like a big promotion in a short amount of time. And it just seems.
Do you think they give him another chance?
No, he's done.
And here's the thing. I thought a couple weeks ago maybe they would. That maybe, hey, look, let's give him another chance to try to figure it out. But now you've got guys like openly mutinying on the sideline. Reports that, you know, you have reports that your 2 best wide receivers are saying, "Come get me." That seems kind of
I mean,
right?
the Browns do have a conundrum too, because I believe they're still paying Hugh Jackson, and then they would still have to pay Freddie Kitchens and bring in a new coach.
Yeah.
But hey, you know what? You got to appease the fan base, right? They're not going to stand for Freddie Kitchens being the coach there next year.
No.
I think Rivera would be a good fit there because he's a guy he's a player's coach. He's had success in this league. Got to a Super Bowl. Maybe. We'll see.
We'll see.
Of course, Baker Mayfield's still going to be your quarterback.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a whole other conversation. That'll be an interesting offseason conversation to have, too, about what's up with Baker.
Does Baker Mayfield get drafted in fantasy next year?
Nope.
That's that. Nope. I had him 5th or 6th this year. Nope. I mean, we all did.
Yeah, no, he's not. He's definitely not going to get drafted.
Crazy.
If he does, it literally is end of draft dart throw.
I mean, think about the guys who are not going to get drafted. Tom Brady won't get drafted next year.
Tom Brady's not going to get drafted next year.
Not going to get drafted either.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there you go.
So,
by the way, I did put the poll out there on Twitter. So if the Seahawks sign Marshawn Lynch, would you consider him a waiver wire ad / DFS play in Week 17? Your options are about that action, boss, or nah, bruh.
Yeah.
So I will. By the time we get to the end of this podcast, I will sort of pay off what the consensus vote on that is. All right, there you go. That's pretty much everything you need to know.
Well, that was the news.
All right. Looking at Week 16, just wrapping this up. And for those of you who have won a fantasy championship or projected to win a fantasy championship, congratulations to you.
Well done. Merry Christmas.
I know there's still one more game to be played, which, you know, the funny part about this is, and our pal Mike Florio tweeted this out, Mike Boone is going to play a significant role in people winning championships.
I know.
This is a guy that most people probably didn't even know his name until earlier this week.
I started him in 3 leagues, and 2 of them, well, the one that I need 72, which is not going to happen, and a couple of others. Because when I saw the report that Madison was not expected to play, I'm like, I'm all my chips to the middle of the table. I'm going in on Mike Boone as a flex starter. I don't know if it's going to matter for me, but, I mean, he should get all the touches against a defense that's not been great against running backs.
Yeah, so we'll see. So there you go. By the way, we'll talk about it a little bit later. No, I shall throw it out there now. You mentioned Kalen Ballage. And I feel like...
Did he sign with an XFL team?
Not yet, at least not that I'm aware of.
He will be. He'll be the number 1 pick. Actually, to be Antonio Brown, who, by the way, is even going more bananas now than ever before. He's crazy.
He's making music videos.
He's loco.
It's
going to be Antonio Brown, then, well, maybe Josh Johnson will go.
He's making music videos.
Yeah.
That's funny. But no, I was saying, so yesterday, Melvin Gordon pulled what I think we should start calling the Ballage.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
9 carries, 15 yards, 2 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. Like, we have to make this a thing, and, like, you know, sort of like the Mendoza line in baseball. We need the barrage in fantasy football, where you get like a bunch of carries, not a whole lot of yards, and somehow you find your way into the end zone and end up having like a decent
15 yards on the ground, 32 as a receiver, and 22.7 fantasy points. Yeah. That's efficiency right there.
That is, man, at least the rushing part of it is totally the barrage. So there you go. All right, so let's look at some of the big disappointments of Week 16.
How long are we going to go here?
I have them broken down by category. We'll talk about a few of them. You can pick the one who is maybe the biggest disappointment of them all. So let's start at quarterback, right? Dak Prescott, who you kind of, I guess, give him a little bit of a pass because he was hurt, right? I mean, he had a shoulder issue.
He didn't look like he was hurt, and he did have the issue of his wide receivers not catching the damn ball.
Right.
Amari.
I mean,
Witten.
Amari Cooper could have been naked at the North Pole and he couldn't catch a cold yesterday.
No.
That's what it was. So Dak Prescott, Jameis Winston, who had been on fire and then went Jameis on you at the worst possible time.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson, who you talked about, who just sort of gave you a nothing burger against the Cardinals. And Shaun Watson, who on paper who maybe had the best matchup at all on paper.
I know. Dude, I go back to like my starts and sits quarterback. If you flipped him, I would have been dead on. I literally, everything went wrong. Everything went wrong. Nobody liked Goff. Nobody liked Brady. Nobody liked Allen.
Right.
Okay, I had Fitzpatrick right. Russell Wilson, he did the opposite of what he typically does, right? In past years, he will have a very slow start, and then in the second half, gangbusters.
Right.
This year, he had a really fast start. Second half of the season, he went into the tank. So, and I feel like Russell's the biggest disappointment out of all of them because the matchup was just so good. It was so good.
You know, the thing about Russell Wilson is that he really just faded down the stretch.
Big time.
He just faded down the stretch. I mean, this is a guy who played really well the early part of the season, and then when you needed him the most, late season, fantasy playoffs, he had, the one good game in the fantasy playoffs? And
it was it was okay. It was decent.
Yeah, he gave you, the 19 points?
Yeah, 19's
against the
okay.
Panthers. But other than that, I mean, Week 10 against the Niners, he gave you 16. Yeah. Against the Eagles, he gave you 9.5. Terrible. He gave you just under 17 against the Vikings. Meh. 10 against the Rams, and then 10 against the Cardinals.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
What's funny is that I actually won one of the two leagues I won. He was my quarterback, and I had Josh Allen on the bench.
Yeah.
And in another league against Colleen, who's whipping my ass, and the Cowboys lost to her Eagles too. I started Winston over Josh Allen in that one too.
Oh, Connie Fox.
And against Amber Theo Harris, who's already beaten me, my two quarterbacks in that league, as I mentioned, were Dak and Jameis Winston.
So if I'm picking
Ricky Holly, can you see the disappointment in my face?
Yeah.
I'm not going to get over this until Christmas Eve. When we're like, all right, it's over now. Holiday spirit. Right now, I am Scrooging like crazy.
I'm mad too. We all are. There's so many people that are mad because nobody could have predicted this.
Nobody saw this.
It's legitimately the craziest fantasy.
There is a saying in the industry, and it's called trust the process.
Trust the process.
You can't freaking trust the process.
Well,
you can follow the process.
The process was right,
but you can't trust it.
It's almost like this is a game of chance.
Yeah.
I know we don't like to say that out loud, but
one of my pals, Chris Wirtz, who's a producer here, he's a big Cowboys fan too, so we're both bitter. But he always says, you have the hardest job in the industry because you have no chance to be right more than 60% of the time.
Most of the time.
I know. Yeah.
Most of the time.
I mean, the analysis is right.
Right. What
happens is sort of, up in the air.
So, I guess if I'm picking, though, the biggest quarterback disappointment, I'm going to Shaun Watson.
No, it's hard because I had those two guys back-to-back this week in the top 5.
Right.
Watson, yeah. But see, this is why, okay, and I had this conversation, too, with our pal, researcher Matt Frederick, who, Watson's rookie year, if you remember his rookie year, he was bananas. He was on pace to have the best fantasy season of all time that rookie year. He went nuts. This year, he would give you 30, then he'd give you 12. Then he'd give you 25, then he'd give you 11. This is how his season started, okay? Then he had 41-25 good, then 15 not good, 22-19 okay. Down the stretch, he had those 2 big games, but he also had 3 points against the freaking Ravens. That one killed you. He killed you yesterday against the Buccaneers of all teams. 9 points. Week before, 16 against Tennessee. That's not good. It's not good. I would have been better off streaming quarterbacks in the second half of the year. Ryan Fitzpatrick was a league winner.
Yeah.
Look at Fitzpatrick's numbers. He was awesome.
I mean, I feel like we kind of saw that from week 10 or 11.
But who was bold enough to play him though, Marcus? That's what I'm saying.
In August, you would have been laughed off the internet for suggesting such a thing.
Here's Ryan Fitzpatrick's numbers, okay, in the last month or so. All right? Now he gave you 4 touchdown passes against the Bengals. He gave you 31. Week before 20. Week before against the Jets 14, not great. 2 weeks previous, he had 26 and 23.
Right. Yeah? No. I
20 plus points in every game.
I didn't have him anywhere, but I would have hedged, and I don't know that I would have.
I had him in one league. I won that league too. So I won the league with Ryan Fitzpatrick.
That's cool.
And where I had Dak and Jameis Winston, I got my rear end handed to me.
All right. Look at the running backs, right, for the big disappointments. Joe Mixon, who had a touch of the bubble guts, had a little bit of the flu going into the game.
The mud.
Yeah, he had the mud butt. Actually, I don't know. He might have just had the sniffles. I'm not sure. But
I mean, I didn't want to say it. Marcus did. I love it. It's
but yeah, he was not feeling great, and gave you 9 points basically.
When I saw that report come out, I'm like, oh, he's gonna bust. He's gonna bust.
James White, who was the bane of Ricky Hollywood's fantasy squad pretty much all year long. I feel like you never figured him out, Ricky.
I don't think anybody did. I don't think the Patriots figured him out.
I feel like when you sat him, he had big games. When you started him,
and what's funny too is his schedule was among the best.
Right.
For running backs down the stretch. He had that one big game against Houston, I believe.
I had him and Sony Michel, ended up dropping Sony Michel. It was just, I don't want to talk about him.
So he did not have a great game on Saturday against the Bills. And then there's Nick Chubb, who you could sort of see it coming, but at the same time, his biggest game of the year came against the Ravens.
That was without
earlier in the year.
That was without Kareem Hunt.
Yeah.
See, the running back position could end up getting pretty deep next year. Because if Kareem Hunt goes to another team where he's a starter,
right.
Hell, he's probably drafted ahead of Nick Chubb. Or right around the same spot.
Right.
I mean, David Johnson, we'll talk about him as well. But, I mean, if you look at the numbers, though, Nick Chubb, once Kareem Hunt came back, I mean, he was good, but he wasn't great.
They were about even. Fantasy, in terms of
PPR,
their scoring,
yes, sir.
Yeah, because that was sort of what kept Kareem Hunt afloat, was his ability to catch the football. Because he wasn't getting enough carries, he wasn't picking up enough rushing yards. But his catches sort of kept him on par with Nick Chubb. I think for a while he might have been outscoring Chubb. I don't know if it ends that way.
So Kareem Hunt's first game back was Buffalo week 10?
Yes.
Right. So Chubb had 14, then he had 9, then he had the 25 against the Dolphins, then he had 8, then he had 12, not good. Then he had 23 against Arizona, and this week 4.5. So Nick Chubb killed you. He may have gotten you to the playoffs, but he burned you. He burned you. And that was the one thing that I feel like we were worried about when Kareem Hunt came back, that, Nick Chubb was going to lose out on the pass-catching opportunities.
Right, and he obviously did.
And he did big time. He had 58 yards receiving in a game against Miami, but the Dolphins are terrible. Other than that, he didn't do anything as a pass catcher, honestly.
Yeah, no,
once Kareem Hunt came back.
Kareem Hunt pretty much took all that opportunity away.
So hopefully Kareem Hunt's on a new team next year. And that means Nick Chubb is the true featured back.
Yeah. I think my big disappointment, though, is probably, I guess it'd be James White out of that group.
What about Connor?
James Conner, I left him off just because he got hurt again. And
I know, but
part of it.
So that's going to be an interesting one, too. Because James Conner, God bless him. I'm not going to say anything bad about the guy. He came back from cancer. God bless him.
He's just struggled to stay healthy.
He's not durable.
He's just struggled to stay healthy.
He's not durable at all, man.
It just is what it is. So, yeah, that was frustrating, especially if you had James Conner, because you just kept waiting for him to come back, and when he did come back, he would never make it through a full game.
Yep.
And so you would start him, and then you wouldn't get any production out of him just because he just wasn't surviving the game. So, all right, so the wide receivers. Man.
There's not a bigger one than Nuke.
You sure? Because there's Amari Cooper.
Bro, he was playing the Bucs.
And there's DJ Chark.
Bro, he was playing Nuke Hopkins was the #1 wide receiver drafted in fantasy leagues this season.
Trust me, I know.
Yes. To do that against the Buccaneers, dude, the offensive lineman that scored a touchdown for Buffalo had almost as many fantasy points as Nuke Hopkins.
Nuke had what, 7 points, something like that?
7 and change. Yeah. The offensive freaking lineman from the Bills who caught that touchdown pass against the Patriots.
Deion Dawkins.
Had, he had 6 points and a catch of 7.
Yeah.
Right? He had almost as many points as Nuke freaking Hopkins.
Yeah. Nuke was so frustrating to me this year because I spent a late first round pick on him in a couple of leagues, and it was like, early on, he wasn't scoring touchdowns, which was annoying and frustrating. Then he started to pick things up in the middle of the season. And then, sort of when you wanted him to really turn it on, he just didn't.
Yeah.
And just, man. I'm just sorry.
I know.
Like, I'm in my feelings right now.
I know. It was a frustrating season because, a lot of times you lean on these stud guys, and you were right to do it, but they just didn't.
It just didn't happen.
The matchups look so great, and you're thinking, Russell and Tyler Lockett and Nuke and Watson and, man.
I guess I should put Tyler Lockett on this list too, right? Because he might actually be the biggest disappointment. He had, one catch for like 6 yards, 8 yards, something like that?
Did nothing. And honestly, he had that game against Carolina, and that was it in the last month.
Yeah, Tyler Lockett actually might supersede all these guys because he just really let you down in a huge 12 yards. 1 catch, 12 yards. He had like 8 targets.
And I mean, if you think about it too, they were behind, so you would think game script would determine throwing the football, especially when all of their running backs got hurt and they were giving the ball to Homer.
I was excited at that point. I was like, Russell Wilson's going to start slinging it. I have him. It's going to be great. And
I had the same thing with the Cowboys with Dak. I'm thinking, all right, we're down. Now you got to throw the ball.
Man.
By the way, we are just
also,
we are all negative
all
Nancy's.
3 of us.
We are just taking the party down. Man.
Also, Seahawks couldn't get Jacob Hollister a touchdown. You couldn't get your tight end a touchdown.
He had a decent game, but it would have been nice to get him a touchdown.
I thought he scored a touchdown early in the game.
No, and it was some other dude.
Hey, it's what's your Nick Ballore?
Whatever.
Which was his only catch all game, by the way. It was a 3-yard touchdown.
Yep.
Thanks for nothing. All right, let's flip it on the good side, right? Let's talk about some league-winning surprises, like guys who came out of nowhere who potentially won your league.
I'm looking at the quarterbacks.
Right?
Like, nobody started these guys.
Daniel Jones, Andy Dalton.
He was my sleeper last week, but
Derek
in
Carr.
traditional leagues, no one's playing him.
Nobody's playing
And 2
Daniel
QB
Jones.
Superflex, okay. Andy Dalton, 2 QB Superflex, okay. Derek Carr against the Chargers? Hell no.
Well, I mean, it was sort of a home game for the Raiders.
It was.
Like, they got a better send-off there than they did at their actual home stadium.
I know, it's a joke, dude. That is a joke.
But Daniel Jones, who not only went out and threw 5 touchdowns and got the Giants a win, but then was out playing flip cup with like Eli Manning later on. Like,
you know what?
I wake up, I see that all over my timeline.
That performance, he is going to be maybe the biggest sleeper quarterback in fantasy football. People are going to remember that if he has a good finish to the season. Yeah. People are going to remember that. He can run with the football. He's got a year experience under his belt.
And he's going to get overdrafted. And then,
well, I don't know about that. But, I mean, he's going to have Shepard, Tate, Evan Ingram, and Saquon Barkley, and Darius Slayton.
Is he also going to have fumble thumbs next year?
Well, hopefully they do something like that.
Hey,
Tom Coughlin doesn't have a job, right? So you bring Tom Coughlin back in, you get him with Tiki Barber, you fix that fumble problem.
Yeah. I'll let that be somebody else's worry next year. Yeah, I mean, Daniel Jones obviously the biggest surprise, but you're right. Derek Carr is the one guy that somebody might have possibly.
You think against the Chargers, really?
Well, more than Jones or Dalton, sure. All right. Moving on.
You know what? We're gonna have a new drinking game on this show. Every time Marcas sighs, you got to drink.
No,
because there's been multiple today.
Someone might die.
Yeah, seriously.
I don't want to put someone's liver and life in jeopardy. That's not fair. All right, running backs. I mean, I feel like Kenyon Drake is the runaway winner here.
Yeah.
But Ronald Jones, who everybody pretty much gave up on, right? Remember I asked it last week on the podcast, right?
And the matchup was great.
I was like, hey, the matchup was good against the Houston Texans. Would you think about, and you and Graham just cut me off and immediately were like, no. And I'm not mad. I understand. I totally understand it, right? And so then, of course, Ronald Jones goes out and has a really nice game.
I mean,
against
it's
the Texans.
I'm so mad at this next name on your list. It's so
Rex,
infuriating.
if you think about it, Rex Burkhead broke the hearts of many people. Not only those who didn't start him or pick him up, but those who played Sony Michel for a lot of the season.
Or James White.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bellatrix,
it sort of goes hand
the
in hand
Marcus
with your
Grant
James White
trademark
frustrations.
was back in full effect.
Oh, man.
Drink.
Another
Drink.
one. Rex Burkhead, though, right? I mean, look, the week before, you understood because it was a revenge game against the Bengals. This just sort of came out of nowhere. Because, especially once Julian Edelman got hurt and had to leave the field for a while, you felt like it was going to be all about James White for a while.
Yep.
And it wasn't. It was Rex Burkhead.
Yeah. By the way, I'm going to have our researchers do this, and I'll write a column about it in the offseason. Revenge game points versus that player's average points per game in non-revenge game. Ryan Fitzpatrick is the greatest revenge game player in the history of fantasy football.
I haven't calculated what the new total is, but last week, going into the game on Sunday, on his 2019 revenge tour, he had averaged just a shade under 18 fantasy points per game.
And now it's going to be way up. Jared Cook had a bananas game, revenge game against the Titans. A lot of people don't even remember that's where he started his career.
Yeah, long time ago.
So he had a big game too. I don't think Matt Prater had a good game.
Well, the Lions did.
I'd have to look at that one. By the way, Broncos defense, thanks for nothing.
Yeah, they really couldn't do much against.
I was just going to say that I thought that was a shoo-in with
I
Blau.
did too. Yeah. Here, so funny. Quick story, real funny. Jerry Cantrell is in the finals of the Alice in Chains League, right? And he comes to me for counsel, and I said my top streaming defenses this week are the Broncos and the Colts, and Rich Eisen, who is not even in the playoffs, didn't even make the playoffs, for some reason or another, picked up the Broncos. And so Jerry had never thrown a rule out there that said that you can't do that. So he couldn't do anything about it. So he says, what do? I said, pick up the Colts.
Hey, that worked out.
He's going to win.
That worked out.
He's going to win.
Look at that.
So Merry Christmas, Jerry.
Thank you, Naheem Hines.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, wait, Prater? Nah, he didn't have a good game.
No. All right.
I'm back on my revenge game.
All right, so the surprise wide receivers for the week. Tyler Boyd had a nice day.
I had him and start him and sit him. That was one of the ones that I got right. That was a good matchup.
Steven Sims.
Didn't have him.
Who has, I think, touchdowns in back-to-back games at the end of the season. Tajay Sharp, you always forget about Tajay Sharp, and then out of nowhere he appears. I think I tweeted that back in October, and then I forgot about him again, and he scored a touchdown on Sunday. And then Hunter Renfrow.
First game back.
Had been hurt, comes back, has a huge game for the Raiders.
Nobody saw it coming.
Nobody saw that coming.
Yeah, honestly, some of the biggest games of the week went to guys that are on the waiver wire.
Yeah.
Their mamas don't even own them.
Absolutely.
Okay? In fantasy leagues.
Absolutely.
They don't.
Tyler, I don't know. Tyler Boyd? It's another one. Like that's why I'm like saying like I don't advocate this. I don't advocate this game at all.
I'm drunk.
I don't advocate this game at all.
New drinking game. The Marcus Grant side game. I love it.
You literally will be hungover before noon. Like don't do this.
Get the eggnog ready.
What? I mean, who's the biggest of that group? Tajay Sharp? Because nobody knew him.
A lot of people were leaning on A.J. Brown, who didn't have the best game in the world.
He had one long run for a touchdown and a couple of catches.
I'm not surprised at Boyd. I like Boyd. I didn't think he was going to have that big a game, but I liked him. But, it's a coin toss. Honestly, Renfrow coming off the injury, playing against the Chargers in it. I guess it was a home game for the Raiders. But just
because the Chargers
the Saints aren't as good on the road. But Steven Sims, Steven Sims, that sounds like a guy who sells cars in a used car lot somewhere.
Come down to Steven Sims Toyota.
Right, exactly. Right? I don't know.
Yeah. We thought maybe Terry McLaurin could have a nice day. But
he was decent.
No, that was on purpose. Like that one was definitely
McLaurin wasn't terrible though.
Yeah. Oh man.
He wasn't terrible.
All right. So I picked a handful of guys with sort of like what nows, right? Either because they started the season, or they started the end of the season well, or into the season poorly. By chance, they all happen to be running backs, just because we're always trying to figure out running backs. So Saquon Barkley was kind of meh for a long part of the year, at least for the draft price you spent on him, right? This is a guy who was the #1 overall pick in a lot of leagues, certainly top 2 or 3 in just about every league. Really didn't give you that level of production until the last 2 weeks, weeks 15 and 16. Yeah. Now, if you made it to the playoffs with Saquon, you probably won because, he went bananas and gave you, 40 points this past week?
Yep.
I assume he's still a top 3 pick.
He's top 2.
Right?
It's going to be him and McCaffrey. McCaffrey go 1. Saquon's going to go 2. Right? Yeah. Who's going to go ahead of him? Maybe Zeke.
Yeah, I know we talked about Dalvin Cook, but just his proneness to injury.
Dalvin. He's not durable.
Just his inability to get through 16 games makes it hard to do that.
And I know saying that because Saquon injured had the high ankle, but that was kind of a freak thing. So
yeah. So I felt like this was an easy one, right? He's still a top 3 pick.
Yeah.
So even if you're frustrated, I understand. But
Kamara by the 7th round, you think?
Kamara's going to be a first-round pick, I think.
He will be.
I think people are frustrated. and I put this out on Twitter, and I got a lot of, I'm not touching him before the 3rd round. I'm waiting until the 5th round. And I feel like that's just the hurt talking. Like that's the pain and the hurt you have that's talking right now. I think by the time we get to August, people will be like, all right, I can see him as a late 1st round pick. I get it. So,
he will. 1st round pick.
So Todd Gurley's future. After the Rams lost to the Niners on Saturday, Mike Silver had a piece for NFL.com where he talked to Sean McVay and just kind of got his feelings on the Rams season because they are not going to the playoffs this year. And part of it was about some major changes that could be coming for the Rams next season. One of them that he mentioned was, Silver mentioned, was that Wade Phillips might not be there as a defensive coordinator.
Right.
The other is that the Rams could try to find a way to get out from underneath Todd Gurley and his contract.
Why do I feel like we always say that when a big name running back signs a big contract?
Immediately.
And at one point or another, maybe it's later in that season or the following season, teams are trying to get out of it.
Well, especially if that guy's not performing well.
Well,
and I know it's not totally on Gurley.
Give him credit. Out of his last 6 games, he was pretty damn good in all but one.
I know
Baltimore, he didn't do anything against Baltimore.
Right.
But, I mean, from a fantasy
people
perspective.
Don't do stuff against Baltimore.
Right. From a fantasy perspective, I mean, he had a touchdown in 4 straight games, at least 1 touchdown in 4 straight games.
Well, and some of it's not on him, right? A lot of it was his usage.
They didn't give him the ball.
They didn't give him the ball for long stretches, especially in the first half of the season. Back half of the year, when he was getting his normal touches, or at least what we're considering normal, he looked sort of like the Todd Gurley we're used to seeing.
McVay's strategy failed miserably.
Yes.
Because, well, number one, the Rams didn't make the playoffs, but, number two, do you think there's maybe some bad blood now? Between I guess Gurley's getting paid, so maybe he doesn't even care. But I
think he cares. I think he wants the ball and he wants to try to win.
So who knows what's going to happen with him?
So, but I'm starting to think look, if Todd Gurley's on the open market, lots of teams are going to want him.
Right,
Maybe not at the same asking price.
He's an old dude either.
Maybe not at the same asking price, but a lot of teams are going to want Todd Gurley.
Yeah.
If he lands in the right spot, like I know you've talked about David Johnson, and let's lump David Johnson in here too, right?
Yeah.
Because as you mentioned, he's probably gone in Arizona at this point. If he lands in
another
the right
guy
spot,
with the contract, yeah.
Like if he goes to a Tampa, right? Either one of these guys, say with the Bucs next year, are they 1st round picks?
No, but top 3 picks, top 3 rounds, excuse me.
Okay.
Without question. Johnson knows the offense. Mm-hmm. His best seasons came under Bruce Arians in Arizona. I get it. He's an older guy now than he was when Arians was in Arizona, but he hasn't had a whole lot of work in the last couple of years, man. So maybe he gives you 1 year where he's where he's pretty solid, David Johnson. Mm-hmm. Gurley, I mean, who knows? Who knows?
I mean, I'm trying to think of where he could go, like Todd Gurley in, say, Houston. That'd be fun.
What about Melvin Gordon? I mean, that Melvin Gordon's another one where, you're not sure where he's going to end up either. I mean, I don't think he's going to be with the Chargers. They were
pretty sure he's
not
going to be with the Chargers.
He's not going to be with the Chargers. Austin Eckler could end up being a 1st-round pick.
Right. Austin Eckler proved that he can be that guy, so I don't see why the Chargers would keep Melvin Gordon around.
Yeah.
Which is going to be interesting, right? So if David Johnson is a free agent, Melvin Gordon is a free agent, if Todd Gurley somehow, and if he and the Rams somehow part ways, that's some big potential names that are transferring spots and really shaking up fantasy drafts this year.
Yeah, no question about that. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens because there's going to be a lot of change. Now in this day and age in the National Football League, it wasn't always like that where there were so many players changing teams, but the offseason is going to be very interesting in fantasy football.
So speaking of David Johnson leaving Arizona, that potentially opens the door for Kenyon Drake to come in there and be a workhorse back. I know that the folks in Arizona have said they'd like to keep him around and have him back next year. And with what he did down the stretch, I don't see why they wouldn't make a play to hold on to him, which begs the question, how high are we reaching for Kenyon Drake next year? 3rd round?
3rd round. That's my initial reaction is 3rd round, something like that. Yep.
3rd round?
I mean, he's obviously proven to be a good fit in Kingsbury's offense. They're going to run a lot of plays because of the offense and that philosophy. So if he's a featured back, and we've seen Kenyon Drake do this in the past. It was a couple of years ago he played the Dolphins. The Dolphins, all their running backs got hurt. And Drake ended up being the guy, and he was great. 2nd half of the year, I mean, he was averaging 20 touches a game. He was bananas good. He was a league winner.
Right.
And then, last year fell off. I don't know why they didn't give him the ball more. They gave it to Frank Gore. But he's proven in the past that he can do it. I don't know if he can do it for 16 games,
Well,
but he's got to be a third-round pick.
I feel like last year or this past season, a lot of people were on Kenyon Drake and wanted to be excited about him. It was just a situation of
usage.
Yeah, you just felt like they were never going to give him the ball, right? That a couple years ago when it looked like he was going to be the guy, Frank Gore comes in here and starts getting all these carries.
Yep.
Then this past offseason, you think, okay, well, maybe this is the year for Kenyon Drake to be the guy. And you heard all this hype about Kalen Ballage, and the Dolphins just kept trying to make fetch happen with Ballage like all season long, and that never really worked out. So maybe it was just about, okay, so here's, I almost sighed, but I held myself back because I just want to protect. I want to protect people.
Wait for it.
On the one hand, I want to see Kenyon Drake be a workhorse and get like a whole lot of carries and just be the guy, right? On the other hand, I flash back to what we said about Lamar Miller for all those years, where it was like, I want to free Lamar Miller. I want him to go somewhere where he's going to get a whole bunch of carries and he can be a workhorse back and he'll be awesome. And then he went to Houston and they gave him all those carries and he was just meh.
He was like RB2.
Right.
Yeah.
So I do have that. I have that flashback, and I have a little bit of that trauma with Kenyon Drake potentially being.
We're experiencing a lot of trauma on the show today. That's for sure.
What about recency bias though? Kenyon Drake.
He's good.
I feel like if it continues for a little bit longer,
right,
people might reach higher than the third round.
Oh, I think I can see a scenario where we talk ourselves into Kenyon Drake in the second round, right? Like all it's going to take is a couple of hype pieces in the offseason where somebody writes a hype piece about it and the fantasy community kind of jumps on board and like suddenly you start looking at mock drafts and suddenly Kenyon Drake's sitting there in the second round.
It's called the Cordero Patterson effect.
Oh, man.
Where he shows something and then everyone in the industry is all over him. Hopefully he doesn't finish like Cordero Patterson did. I remember Cordero Patterson was like one of my favorite sleepers. I think everyone liked him. He was doing commercials for NFL Fantasy, and then he went down the toilet, and nobody heard from him again.
Well, it was also because the big thing that helped Cordero Patterson, or hurt him as the case may be, was Norv Turner saying, oh, yeah, we've got like 10 plays in the playbook for him already.
Yeah.
And everybody, myself included, was like, oh, well, I'm in. And then I remember that
and then we found out he couldn't run routes.
I remember that first week, they ran an end around to him, or like a jet sweep or something like that.
His first game was good.
First game, he had the jet sweep that he ran for like a 40-yard touchdown. And everybody on fantasy Twitter, we all took a collective victory lap because we're like, this is it. Yep. It's happening. And I think that was the last we heard of Cordero Patterson.
I will say this, though. As an industry and amongst us here, I think we did a damn good job with the preseason predictions.
I think so.
Like, we were all in on Godwin. Right? I mean, I was all in on Kyler and Lamar.
Right. I think we got those right as a group.
There was a lot of guys, I feel like you know what? Hey, pat on the back. Regular season's harder.
Yeah.
You can see it. You could see it. Like, you could tell, like, watching tape, watching players, seeing what they do. You can tell when a guy's ready to bust out. You could tell.
Yeah.
And but then you get into the matchups every week, and it's like
matchups. You get
which
injuries.
Atlanta defense is going to show up? Oh, the Bucks are good now. Like, what the hell's going on?
All that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
By the way, quick note, injury note. Zach Ertz apparently has a rib injury.
He took a shot in that game.
He is going to have tests today. I know he came back and played, but several Eagles beat writers saying that he is going to have some tests today. So
I'll tell you one thing. They are going to get. I don't know who they're going to play in the first round. Maybe it's going to be Seattle. For your sake, I hope it is, because that means the Niners get the number 1 seed.
They're not going to play because the Cowboys are going to get into the playoffs, so the Eagles are going to be at home. So I don't really know what you're talking about.
I'm done with you.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It really could happen.
It really could happen.
It's not going to happen.
But the Eagles are so
We're
bad,
going to lose to the Redskins. The team is done. They've quit. It's done.
You know what's going to happen is that, like, so let me look up the schedule. I'm curious what the times for the games are next week. Like, I wonder, are the Cowboys and Eagles playing at the same time?
I can look right now.
I'm looking it up right now.
The Cowboys are a 4:25 game. And the Eagles are where are the Eagles at? They are a 4:25 game. It's NFC East versus NFC East. They're playing the Giants.
I want to be watching Red Zone to watch both of them just vomit on their shoes at the same time, right? Just to vomit on, because what if they both lose? The Cowboys go to the playoffs, right?
No.
Isn't that how it works?
If we both lose?
I have no idea what the tiebreakers are.
Well, we tied.
Who's sitting in that spot right now?
Right now, the Eagles are the division winners. Going into the week.
Got it. Okay,
if we both lose, I would think.
So they both lose, then the Eagles are probably
stay.
in.
The Eagles have to lose, the Cowboys have to win.
Okay. All right.
That's basically.
All right. I just feel like that's.
I'm not rooting for it.
That's
and you can tell me. And people
errors
said I'm a bad fan. Listen, and I don't want to hear the crap about being a freaking front runner. The Cowboys have been the most frustrating freaking franchise in the last 25 years. Maybe not in all sports, but pretty damn close. Of the teams that we're expected to do something. All right, don't give me Browns fans. You guys know you've been awful for 3 decades. Right? That's what I'm saying. Like of the teams that like, hey, this team has got a lot of talent. They're projected to do something. The Cowboys have been one of the most freaking frustrating because it's like, especially I can't remember. I was talking to a buddy of mine last night. When the Cowboys were 1-15 and 3-13, I knew they sucked. So like I didn't care. I knew they were bad. I knew they were building something, but I knew they were bad. This year they were good. The talent was there.
It's just a reminder that your favorite team doesn't love you back.
No, it does not. Especially now, man. Jeez Louise.
All right. So for you nut jobs that are playing Week 17, here's a few waiver wire names. Keep an eye on Mark Ingram, who had a calf injury yesterday. I know he's getting tests, so we'll see if he's available. And even if he's not, I wouldn't be surprised if the Ravens, now that they have the number 1 seed locked up, if maybe they just hold Mark Ingram back.
This is why I hate the Week 17 thing.
This is absolutely why
play Lamar Jackson this week? Even a little bit.
And
why?
if you have Lamar Jackson, you've had a great quarterback now arbitrarily in your biggest game. Like he may not be available.
Like RG3 might be a top 10 play this week because Lamar Jackson might sit.
But keep an eye on Mark Ingram. So if he doesn't go, Justice Hill and or Gus Edwards are names to keep an eye on because they're going to get a lot of run. Travis Homer and or unnamed Seahawks running back.
Right.
Whether it is, as we mentioned, Robert Turbin or C.J. Anderson or just maybe Marshawn Lynch. Which, by the way, the poll right now with just about 2,800 votes. Wait, let me refresh this just so I can be as accurate as possible here. But a lot of you have weighed in on this Marshawn Lynch poll that I put up here on Twitter.com. So, 2,800 votes, 60.8% of you say, nah, bruh, but 39.2% of you say you're about that action, boss.
Interesting.
So, I love
By the way,
optimism.
don't go out and pick up RG3. I was kidding.
I love the optimism. I put Steven Sims on this list.
Yeah,
because,
why not?
He's played a couple of nice games late in the season. Very curious to see whether or not it's going to be Dwayne Haskins or Case Keenum that gets the start next week. By the way, we didn't even talk about the rotating door at quarterback for the Steelers.
I know that thing. Honestly,
Duck Hodges started. He stunk. So they went to Mason Rudolph. He got hurt. Duck Hodges came back.
I really want to see the Titans get into the playoffs. The Steelers don't deserve to be there. They're not that good. They're going to get crushed. The Titans have a good team.
The Titans are fun.
Yeah, their defense.
They're fun to watch. Ryan Tannehill's playing well.
Ryan Tannehill's playing.
If Derrick Henry can
Ryan
get
Tannehill is playing an all-pro level for basically ever since he's taken over that job.
Yeah.
And if they get Derrick Henry back with A.J. Brown, they've got a. I like that team.
They could throw some stuff into the formula.
They gave the Saints all they could handle. I mean, they were up what 17-0, 14-0 in that game. I mean, that they gave the Saints all they can handle. And Ryan Tannehill, I feel like this guy is. I mean, he's been a league winner. Like honestly, you've been starting him every week. He's been great. He's been better than some of the stud guys.
It's wild, man.
So I really hope the Titans get into the playoffs. I feel like they really deserve it the way that they've been playing. And I think I'm not 100% sure. They may have a win and in scenario. They're playing at Houston this week, but I'd have to look at that. Yeah. But I feel like they have an advantage over the Steelers in some capacity. Yeah. And the Steelers had to play the Ravens. I don't know if they're going to have the Ravens or the second team.
I feel like the Ravens, especially John Harbaugh, he is petty enough to play his starters just to keep the Steelers out.
Yeah.
Like that rivalry and John Harbaugh, they're just petty enough to do that.
Titans clinch the AFC wild card with a win or with Pittsburgh loss and
there you go. So the Titans basically,
loss.
they hold the keys.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, the Raiders still have an outside shot.
That's crazy.
And here's the thing. The Raiders' path to getting in the playoffs is not insane. They have to win, obviously, against the Broncos, which, difficult but not impossible.
That's in Denver, okay.
Let me go through and find it. So the Raiders have to win at Denver. Mm-hmm. The Titans lose to the Texans.
Okay.
Again, not impossible. Steelers lose to the Ravens. Certainly possible. Colts beat the Jaguars.
Yeah.
it's not insane. It's not impossible to think the Raiders could somehow sneak into the playoffs.
You know what, though? You look at some of these
need a lot of
teams
help
that are on the outside looking in who could potentially – the NFL want to have more playoff teams? Really? Really?
No.
I don't know, man. I think we're good. I
Yeah,
mean, if you want to
it's
add,
good
a
enough.
regular season game or two, okay, but
It's good
you want to
enough.
add more teams to the playoffs? You want to water it down even more?
It's good enough.
I mean, at this point, that first weekend of the playoff games just – I mean,
It's gonna be a waxing.
I do a lot of like usually the AFC South involved playoff game is where I go run errands. It's
Yeah, right, exactly.
It's usually the early game on a Saturday. It's like, you know what, I'm gonna go and get some groceries, maybe return
Yep.
any Christmas presents that I need to
There you go.
exchange, that sort of thing. That's what
but I mean, when the Raiders still have a shot, the Steelers, and heck, Mike Tomlin, great job this year because
Yeah,
of all the
no doubt.
injuries. I mean, but like that's not a playoff team.
By the way, real quick before we get out of here, is Ryan Tannehill a QB1 next year?
Is he playing for the Titans next year?
I assume he will be.
I assume
he will.
I don't know contractually what his situation is, but I feel like I've seen some reports that the Titans might franchise him.
I would think so. I don't think they're going to spend a ton of money to keep him, but I think they want to
So like I'm on the show today, I'm doing like my top 5 quarterbacks. I think it's like Lamar, Mahomes, Russell's in there, Watson's in there, and like Josh Allen's in there too. And then Kyler's going to be in the top 10. Dak's going to be in the top 10. Boy, some of the big name guys that we've had in the top 10 for a long time are going to drop out, like Brady, he was in the top 10 this year, but like Aaron Rodgers for sure.
Right.
I don't think he's going to be a top 10 quarterback. Boy, I mean, like
Tannehill's an unrestricted free
maybe-
agent after this season.
maybe. I mean, Breeze will be in the top 10, but maybe. I mean, dude,
This is where we are
maybe.
in 2019. So
We'll see.
there you go.
Matt Stafford will be back.
Oh, that's true. He'll be healthy again. We'll see. All right. That's it.
That was a sigh, by the way.
Was
Drink.
it? Oh, sorry, folks.
Drink.
Sorry about your livers. That's it. We are done. We appreciate you listening. Again, congratulations to you if you won a championship. Best of luck to you. If you need help on Monday night, we will see. And woe
need
be
help.
unto you who decided to play Week 17. You guys need to figure all that out, man. That's
And
just what it is.
Merry Christmas.
Yes.
Happy New Year. Marcus and I will be back Friday to break down the Week 17 games.
And then
because
back the following Monday.
we're here for you nut jobs who are playing Week 17s. We'll probably talk a little DFS as well. And we are still going to be having podcasts twice a week.
Yep.
Throughout the playoffs.
So they tell us not to.
And then we'll figure it out after that. So hopefully you guys are still tuning in for our nonsense, for Marcus's size.
Absolutely.
And for some playoff fun.
Please drink responsibly.
Yeah.
So we are done. We appreciate you downloading and listening. You know the drill. Tell 2 friends to tell 2 friends. Rate, review, and remember, the best thing to do first thing in the morning is go right back to sleep. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. We'll see you on Friday.
Merry Christmas.